My name is Ron Cardenas. I was I was baptized at St. Scholastica's 77 years ago, 1946. My brother was baptized in 1944, I believe. My sister, she's 85 years old, but she was baptized there at St. Scholastica. My parents were longtime residents of Erie, and my dad was a coal miner. My mother did housework, and we grew up in St. Scholastica. We'd go every Sunday. You know, whether you wanted to or not, you got pulled by the ear if you didn't want to go to church. But you got dressed and went to church, and uh, I have so many memories of St. Scholastica. But I remember they used to do mass with the in Latin, and the father had his Father Joseph would have his back to you, and he was a mean old father. I don't know, where did Father Joseph come from, Mom? Lafayette. We used to share Father Joseph. Well, that's way before I met you. So anyway, yeah, they used to do the mass in Latin, and his back was always to us, and where the altar is, the altar was kind of turned around, where the altar was right where they keep the where the little ark is, right below the cross back there. That's where the altar was, and where these steps are, there was a railing there, and the railing, that's where you used to come and receive communion. Everybody would kneel in front of the railing, and then the altar boy would come with a thing, and the father would give you the host, and you'd go back to your pews. But I remember that forever. And then finally they start doing mass in English. And I don't remember when that was. Goodness gracious. Yeah, I can't remember when they start doing mass in English and when the fathers finally start turning around and giving mass to the people. But the railing, I was saying, the railing in where the steps are now, where you step up to the altar, is where the railing was. There was a rail there, and there was a kneeling portion, and people would come and kneel and get receive the host there, and then go back to the pews. The like I said, the church and the house where the father's office is were not connected. That used to be a walkway back there. So, and like I said, Joe and Anna McWilliams, they were the caretakers. She used to be a nurse, and he was a foreman at the Shamrock Coal Mine, and they. In the meantime, during their talk period, they would take care of the church, make sure the furnace was running. It was an old coal furnace back then, and they took care of making sure the wine, everything was. They also cleaned the church, so they were the complete caretakers of the church. And when they passed, I can't remember. Jesus, it's been a while. I can't remember what. We've had so many different priests there. And they would come and go, and like I said, none of them actually lived in Erie until Father. I think I can't remember if it was Father Rob was the first one, or the priest that was in Lafayette. I mean, in Frederick now was the first, one of the first. But most of the priests traveled. They would travel from different cities to come to do the mass in Erie, and so it was kind of hard to get, and we rotated priests quite a bit. I mean, they didn't stay very long. But I think Father Joseph was one of the longest ones, and maybe Father Rob. But and then I remember when they first start singing prayers in church. I remember the people were really, really against it. They had a little red-haired priest that he started singing the songs in church, and people were so used to the old way of doing church that they actually run him out. they got a petition set up, and it went to the archdiocese, and he was finally gone. But then it continued, and I know a lot of the old parishioners like me do not enjoy them saying the prayers and singing the prayers instead of saying the prayers. Maybe it's just the old way of doing things. But I told Father once, I said, when they first started singing the prayers, I said, I just can't imagine Jesus standing in a boat or on top of the mountain singing the prayers to the people below. I said that he just shakes his head and says, "God bless you." But there was, like I said, I was really good friends with Mrs. McWilliams' grandson Ron Hunt, and we chummed around together. And I stood over here at the parish, at the church, at the house there, and I'd stay keeping company. But she was an excellent cook. Like I said, she was an ex-nurse, and Mr. McWilliams was a foreman of the Shamrock coal mine, and they were just really down-to-earth people. And I don't know if people remember. Well, the new people did. They don't remember. They don't remember the McWilliams. They don't remember the church, where the parish office is being disconnected to the church. It was actually living quarters for the caretakers. And like I said, the Vestal view was just that little area where you come in the door on the east side of the church. And things have changed so much in the church. And I don't. Like I said, I'm not one for singing the prayers. I really got upset when the Father did when the Father said, actually they sang the Lord's Prayer. And I said, no, that was the end of that. And me and him got into it, and he didn't do it again. But I guess I'm old school. I can't think of a lot of things that you would like me to say. You can try to drag some stuff out of me, but
okay.
You can ask me questions. And
so would you like to see it go back to where the Mass was like it was before Vatican II? Yes,
I just don't like singing the prayers.
Yeah.
I think you should go to Mass, you should pray. And they used to be where they used to sing some songs, and that was really acceptable. But I prefer they go back to the old method of saying Mass.
Yeah.
Mass to me, Mass wasn't meant to be sung. Prayers weren't meant to be sung. You go to pray and you say your prayers, you sing the songs, and go to confession, get the host, and go home and wait for next week. Oh, and here you mentioned about the First Communion and going to classes. I'm trying to remember. I think the Father taught the classes, and they weren't like catechism is now. You go and they give you a lesson to read, and then you come back and you take it for First Communion and confirmation, and they didn't have the catechism classes back when I went to school. They did short ones that the Father would teach, and he knew who was coming and who was going. So you better be there if you wanted to make your First Communion so. I don't remember teachers teaching it. Father always taught it, and so there. But that was way back when. I can't remember when I made my First Communion or my confirmation, but you figure I was born in 46 and I was baptized in 46, and we've been a part of that parish. My sister's 85 and she was baptized in Erie, so it's we've been there a long time, and the family has been there a long time, If you want to know, like, do you know where the hall came from?
I've heard some stories.
Well, there were the women having bake sales and through having sales of Mexican food, and they raised money to. It was a building I think they got from Lafayette, and they made enough money to get it moved over to Erie, and it was done by the. Hang on, just a sec. What was that called, Mom? Where the ladies belonged to?
The Ulster Rosary Society?
Yeah, the Alton Rosary Society, and it was all made up of all women, and they're the ones that brought the hall with bake sales and different. They had raised enough money to get the hall moved over. So they don't have that organization anymore for the women, the Alton Rosary Society. So, and I think Cammy Arneson belonged at the last part of it, and she was part of helping it way back when. But
I heard that they bought it on horses.
I'm not sure how they brought it.
Yeah.
But it was a move from I think Lafayette had it, and we bought it from I think it was Lafayette.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think what I read, Mary Montano and Alex, they gave me a history book.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, and I think it said it started out as a little Catholic church at the Columbine mine.
Which one?
The parish hall.
Yes.
And then from there, it went to St. Ida's in Lafayette and became their parish hall. And then from there, it came to Erie.
Well, the hall. Do you mean the hall?
Yeah.
That could be. I'm not sure, but I just know the Alton Rosary Society are the ones that made enough money to. But let's see. Yeah, the old Columbine mine. Do you even know where that was?
It said Serene. Where was Serene?
Serene. You know where the south of the high school. Yes, south of where it used to be the old Black Hill was, where the junkyard was.
Yeah.
Columbine mine was just beyond that. If you take that road, would be where it makes the curve. The curve where where the dumps are, where the dump is actually. Yeah, that's where Serene was. That's where the Columbine mine was. There used to be a road that went. You turned up, you go down, you turn off, you go through Columbine, and it would come out on Highway 7.
Did people live up there?
Oh yeah, yeah, quite. Yeah, they used to run. Actually, they used to run a school bus from Columbine to Erie schools.
Back then.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, my wife's sister-in-law used to live in Columbine, and she remembers riding the bus and school bus coming to Erie schools. But now as far as the church hall coming from there and going to Lafayette, I'm not really sure. But I know the Alton Rosary Society are the ladies that made the money to move the hall from Lafayette to Erie.
Did your mom help with that?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
yes. My mom, Mrs. Arneson, Mrs. Padron, Mrs. Brown, and Mrs. Millick, and just so many people. All the mothers, Mrs. Caddage, the Montanos, everybody in Erie that belonged to the parish. The women were all part of the. Most of them were part of the Alton Rosary Society, and they. And then once they got it there, it become we have catechism, and they'd have their bake sales and Mexican food sales and different things like that in the parish hall once they got moved here. But
that was a big thing in Erie, I'd imagine, because there weren't really restaurants or anything like that, right?
Oh, there were bus routes. It was kind of strange because the guys that I went to school with, they were actually some sophomore, juniors and seniors were driving the buses. My friend Tom Christman, John Padilla, Alan Cabobel, just all different young guys that were still going to school were driving the school buses. And the buses were kept at where the Erie Town Hall is now, where it used to be the elementary school was right there where the town hall is. So the buses were kept in the old garages there. There's, I think, only 3 buses, maybe 4. And
Wow.
so yeah, and then that was kind of crazy. I used to laugh at that. I said, some of those guys, I don't know if I'd trust. They'd drive the bus, pick the routes up, and then play basketball with each other on a basketball team. So it was kind of crazy, but yeah,
Do you
there's a
have-
lot of the older people, unfortunately, that either passed or moved out of town. But there's not. I go into town. I say, boy, I can't. There's no older people there in town that I remember. And my buddy said, "You're the older people in town now." So it's kind of strange, not seeing the old faces at church. And I don't know half the people in church anymore. Hardly any, other than during mass, to say hello or to say it's not people that I grew up with that are there anymore. Most of them have moved out or passed on. But
Do you have favorite memories from being in church? Anything stand out?
no, other than the fact that that my kids both went to school there. I mean, went to catechism there in Erie and were baptized in Erie in first Holy Communion and confirmation. And then my 2 grandsons, the same. They were both both altar boys. They both did their first communion and they were baptized there. Did their first communion there and the confirmations there. So it's kind of a 5th generation thing. Yeah, so we go back a long way, and as far as Erie, there's a lot of people that I go to those town fairs, and they said, "Oh, we're new to Erie. I know the history of Erie. When did you move in?" "Oh, 1989." I said, "Really?" Yeah, so yeah, we lived on 640 Pierce there, and then we moved over to 405 Briggs, and right across from used to be the old hotel or boarding houses actually, and that's where I grew up, and that's where my family grew up. And
Was Briggs the main street?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where everything was. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was Erie. When I went to school, keep in mind Erie population was around 1,000, 1,100, and it wasn't until Leon Whirl come from Louisville that he became the city manager, that the streets, once they paved the streets, the town of Erie just blew up.
Yeah.
That's when it became, and I don't know what its population is now. I heard it's around 31,000 or 33,000. I don't know, but it was fun. I mean, I remember the old hardware stores. We had a lumber yard there on just east of the post office, and there was hardware stores across the street, and about 3 or 4 grocery stores, and plenty of beer joints, bars.
Oh.
Saturday and Sundays were popping downtown Erie. But but that's why I say that back when I was growing up and going to school, that's when all the artisans, the Heps, the Mosnicks, and just the Montanos and Martinez's, and that's when all the old people were going to church there. It was more close knit because everybody knew everybody, and everybody, baptized other, Montanos baptizing Martinez's kids, or vice versa, and it was just it was a close knit community, and everybody bonded. I guess it was everybody knew everybody, knew everybody's history, knew where you came from, and yeah, most of the people, well, a lot of the people come from down south. They were coal miners. They come from around Trinidad, Walsenburg, Aguilar area, and moved when the mines played out there. You know, all of them moved over here. The Montanos, the Cardenases, the Martinezes, the Padrones, and Mosnicks, and you know, they were all coal miners, and so everybody knew everybody in Erie, and pretty much knew everybody's business too. So, but that's the way Erie was, and that's the way the St. Scholastica was, and I think that's why it was successful in getting having the Altar Rosary Society and getting the hall here, because everybody supported it when they had, you know, bake sales or Mexican dinners or Italian dinners. Or, you know, everybody supported it. Everybody would come for those dinners, and that's why they raised the money. So,
Of the 1,100 people that were in Erie, how many were Catholic, do you think? I mean, not in numbers, you can just say half.
you know, I would say half or a little more than half. Yeah, because there was just our church, St. Scholastica, and the Methodist church across from the old school, which is the old town hall now, and that's the only two churches there. So you're either, as far as I was concerned, you're either Catholic or Methodist. I don't believe they had a Lutheran church around, but and I'd say the good portion of the people in Erie were Catholic. Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
So
yeah.
The church was full.
The church, oh yes, it was. Well, of course, they only had one mass Sunday morning, but it was full. You know, because there were some big families, the Artisans and the Heps and the, you know, Montanos and the Cardenases. Everybody kind of had their place where they sat, and so.
And it was everybody came with their family.
Oh yes. Yeah, and you know, you didn't get away with not going to church with the older families. I mean, like I said, they'd pull you by the ear, or if you misbehaved in church, you got the old pinch. Or
there was no cry room.
No, never no cry room. You better not cry in church either. I had to cry when you got home. But discipline was different back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. A smack in the butt or something was, which should be administered a little more, I think, now. I mean, I never hurt anybody. Didn't hurt me, my wife, or none of my kids. You know, strong discipline is better than the kids going to the prisons and jails. Like my mama used to say, you cry now or cry when they go to jail. You take your alternative. A strong way to look at it. But
do you have any advice for people today of how to keep your faith throughout your lifetime?
boy,
Any tips?
you know,
What's helped you?
it's hard because we were all raised Catholic. I said both my grandsons were altar boys, and my one grandson, the oldest one, has a different religion there. But he still believes in God, and you can't take that away. But as far as the Catholic going to Catholic, but my son is, like I said, lives in Savannah, Georgia, and he married a lady that's Catholic, and they still go to church every Sunday down there also. So, and my grandson that's going to Yale and lives in Connecticut, they go to church on Sundays. And the only one that's not, I got a kick in the butt, and just, my daughter, she and her husband was strict Catholic by their mother, but you know, I don't know.
Pray.
Yeah, pray for them.
Yeah.
Get back into church.
Yeah.
But no, our family has always been strong Catholics.
What do you think might have helped that? Do you think family prayer, stories?
Belief.
Belief.
Hard
Yeah.
work. You know, when you're like Dad was a coal miner, and most of the coal miners I knew they were Catholics. they believed in God, and they come and pray because it's a dangerous job, and that's what they believed in, hard work and good religion, and
Being ready in case you met that moment.
yeah,
Right.
and yeah, so it was. At one time, I had my dad, his brother, my uncle, and two other uncles, and two brother-in-laws, and three cousins working at the same coal mine at the same time. And if there was ever a cave-in, I remember my dad, when I come home from Vietnam, my dad said, "The mine's hiring." And I said, "Dad, I come from hell. I'm not going back down into it." So, so I never got into the mine. My brother did, and he worked with my dad for 7 years, but till the mine splayed out. And I think 1971 or 72 was the last time the mines were. But like I said, most of the miners in Frederick, Erie, Lafayette, Louisville, they were pretty much all Catholics. And I don't know if it was a strong belief from coming down south, because that's where most of them came from, but migrated up this way. It was the Catholics and.
And there were different nationalities too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of strong Italians, Greeks, Hispanics, Germans. Just all mixture. The mine hired, they didn't care what nationality you were when they hired you. So, and it was a good mixture. I mean, and the guys from Erie knew the miners from Erie knew the guys from Frederick and Lafayette, Louisville. So they all got along good. So yeah, it was close knit, and like I said, I don't know if it was the religion was so strong down south that Catholicism just followed them up, and because I know the guys that when Erie and Frederick combined in Erie, a lot of the Italians they were all Catholics, and their dads and their parents were Catholics, and the same thing with Lafayette and in Louisville. The coal miners were all, geez, it seems like they were all Catholic. And there were farmers. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't all coal miners, but the farmers in that were Catholics, because there were some, but mostly the miners that I know that were really strong Catholics.
Yeah. There was no crop insurance if your crops failed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, there was no crop insurance. So.
Do you remember them going out? Did the priest ever come and pray at the mine or out in the crops?
Do I? No.
No.
I don't remember that.
Blessing the crops, or maybe because your dad wasn't a farmer.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard they go out and bless the crops, or
Yeah.
at the springtime for good growth, and but.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, I hope I answered a lot of questions,
Yeah.
and I don't think people realize that where the east pews are, that where you walk in the side door on the east side, that was a door into the vestibule. That was that little skinny area there was a vestibule. That's where the father went in and changed and